Hey guys, it's me, Maxi here, and I am of course back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And it looks like that the actual Captain Syrup, she has managed to got away. So because of that though, we definitely still need to keep on following her, because otherwise if we don't, then she will conquer the entire planet, or even especially noticeable with the actual land. So anyway, so welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Wario Land 2 for the Game Boy / Game Boy Color. So last time we have pretty much gone through Chapter 2, and today we're about to be hit on to Chapter 3, Maze Woods. And basically, the first story in this particular chapter is the fact that we're gonna have to able to make our way to the actual Maze Woods itself. So because of this though, hopefully we would be able to actually just to make our way for the sake of the actual progression's sake. And while at it, is the fact that we can able to grab on the owl and what have you, so that way we can able to progress to the actual the stage itself. So because of this though, there's not much else I can honestly try to talk about for the sake of today's recording session when it comes to discussions. Well, apart from the fact that as far as what Sonic has already mentioned about this ever since during the forms of well, you know, by the end of the forms of Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play. And because of this though, we already mentioned about the fact that with the actual Sonic information and all that stuff though, if you want to able to actually know about it, then well, you know what I mean. But aside from all that stuff though, is the fact that obviously today's day is of course the 7th of June today, in this case in 2021 today. I do apologize for that little belchiness, I'm afraid, so that'll be kind of gross, kind of think about it, but I digress. So either way, something interesting happens. In addition to the forms of how the fact that, well, we've only got about 5 more days to go until this year's E3 is about to start. So even then though, I'm super hyped and super excited at the same time, especially noticeable about the fact that since that Mighty the Armadillo has recently got started with his Let's Play of Mario Party 5. Well, at least ever since during the forms of the weekend, as you guys should know. But I digress. And because of this though, is the fact that I'm super excited about these new games still, and especially noticeable with some new content along the way during the course of, well, let's just say, something related to Zelda's anniversary and such, and even especially noticeable with the final 2 fighters from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and let's not forget the forms of Splatoon 3's new information, and to top it off is the fact that with, well, Breath of the Wild 2 info. So because of this though, speaking of such though, is the fact that, recently, that I don't suppose that Sonic has even mentioned about this, or even Mighty the Armadillo haven't mentioned about this either, and even I forgot to mention about it ever since in this particular Let's Play so far. Recently we got ourselves some brand new news info from the likes of the forms of the Pokemon related news, and also specifically another video games here and there as well. Like for instance, for example, we actually got ourselves our final release dates for the upcoming Pokemon games, which there are obviously the Pokemon Generation 4 remakes, which is of course Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Those two are now going to be coming out on, much like the forms of the past years, ever since in the 3DS remakes of, you know, basically just Generation 3 remakes from the 3DS. Basically, it once again is going to come out on November, and it's about to due out at some point until in 19th of November. So, if I recall correctly, it will be pretty much subbed up as on Friday. So because of that though, yeah, once again it's going to be on November and stuff like that. So yeah, it seems kind of crazy kind of thing about it when it comes to able to releasing those things. And also to top it off is that Pokemon Legends Arceus actually finally gets its new release date too. And apparently it's going to come out in the earliest date of 2022. That's what appears to be on the forms of January 28th of 2022. So even then though, it seems kind of interesting when it comes to able to releasing you know, Pokemon Legends Arceus, which either way though, I'm guessing it's like, well, it's kind of hard to say about this, because usually I'm still not a huge Pokemon fanatic still, but regardless of everything else though, is the fact that it's kind of interesting to able to know that some of these release dates can be a bit more optimistic when it comes to releasing them in between. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that solution. So, and also another thing as well, that the official Sega game called Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, the official game on the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, basically, along with the forms of those two systems, also the Xbox One version is going to be existent, and also same applies to the forms of PC version as well. But apparently there's actually going to be even 2 more platforms, if I recall correctly, like Stadia version, as well as the forms of Xbox Series X version. And because of that though, actually, is that they're actually going to be getting themselves the English versions release date, which is going to due out at some point in June 22nd for this year. So, because it's pretty obvious, because the actual official Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games has been, you know, delayed, because obviously we're not going to mention that word ever again, because obviously we are moving on, and we'll cut straight to the point because of how the fact that we don't feel like mentioning that stupid word ever again. Because let me just say this right now, it's just a bit too much for my taste, but anyway. And also I suppose that Sonic hasn't mentioned about this either, although mind you, he did manage to briefly mention about that ever since in Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play, but apparently though, that usually when it comes to that specific discussions to make, because, you know, obviously since I've got my laptop back, and because of that though, the only new thing has been added to my laptop, which appears to be by the forms of Windows 10 mode. So, I might try to able to get used to it though, but what if I manage to able to, like, well, I'm sure Sonic has already mentioned about this ever since in Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play, so let's not mention about that again, because obviously we are basically just gonna have to focus on, you know, more days coming up for it, and especially noticeable with the forms of more events were about to happen, and especially noticeable with the forms of, you know, E3s getting close, so... But at least I'm still top-notch and exciting at the same time, so... But I digress. So now let's move on to Story 2, defeats the Giant Spearman. And it appears to be more accurately like some sort of like a mini-fight going on here, so should be interesting throughout. So, either way though, and also another thing is worth noting for is the fact that, to top it all off, is the fact that we're expecting to able to actually just to have some, programs to able to actually restore, but unfortunately gonna have to able to re-download several programs again, which, that seems kind of, iffy for me, especially noticeable that it's bad enough I have to re-download my, Roxo Game Capture HD Pro program, and because of that though, I have to reinstall that. Well, thankfully I've still got my, installation, CD disc to able to actually reinstall, Roxo Game Capture HD Pro, thankfully. So, at least I did manage to got that. So, anyway, let's just go ahead and double check what's in these little, rooms that we can able to actually entering into. Especially because, after all, we still need to able to collect even more coins as a result. So that way, for just in case we can able to actually just, you know, find a treasure and also trying to deal with the actual, the matching pile game. So, yeah, I digress. So, either way though, I guess to be honest with you guys, there's not much else I can honestly try to say apart from the fact that I've already mentioned about, you know, new Pokemon stuff just happened since, during the course of the 26th of May, so, yeah, that seems interesting, despite, it's a bit late than never to able to actually mention about that, especially because, well, obviously it's been a while since I actually did done, some of my commentaries these days. I know Mighty already done his recording session, obviously, since yesterday, but, aside from all that stuff, though, it's just the fact of the matter is, though, is that we still need able to, you know what I mean, get used to with the actual program. Well, I have no idea why I say things like that, conveniently enough, mind you, but, still. Oh yeah, in some, scenarios, mainly with, like, this level, for instance, is the fact that we now need to ride on these little turtles, as you can tell, in order to able to progress for the level, so, yeah, that seems illogical, and especially noticeable about the fact that, well, it does almost reminds me of, Tropical Jungle from the likes of Sonic 06, well, to be more specifically, the worst version of, well, Tropical Jungle, which is, of course, Silver's Tropical Jungle, along with, well, I don't mind Rouge's version on the Shadow story, well, alongside with the Sonic's, very hard mission version of that specific level, but aside from all that stuff, though, it's, how do you expect we're able to referencing something like this, so, yeah, and as a result of that stuff, though, it's just the fact that I'm very, very excited, able to actually see some new stuff is happening, and especially noticeable that, well, I've already mentioned about this before, we've only got about, you know, 5 more days to go until specifically, you know, 5 more days left until E3 is coming. So, in fact, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. Are you excited when it comes to the forms of E3 still? Because I sure still do, and especially noticeable because obviously that another one of those questions I like to ask for is that, well, are you excited when it comes to the forms of the latest, 2 new Pokemon games coming out and during at some point in 2021, of course, in November 16th, or 19th I should say, and especially noticeable with the forms of Pokemon Legends Arceus, so that way you can able to actually get your experience on a nice little open world game filled to it. So because of this though, well, I don't know if I might able to try and get it, but it really depending on the forms of my interests, especially because, well, obviously that, in addition to that though, I'm pretty sure we've only got about, I will classify for saying, if I like to record that correctly, I think we've only got about, let's just say 18 days left until Mario Golf Super Rush will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch, especially noticeable because I'm actually really interested with that game. And to top it all off though is the fact that we only almost barely got a month left until The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD will about to be releasing. So, along with the forms of the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo. Although, something that Sonic hasn't mentioned about this ever since in Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play either is that, unfortunately though, they did manage to have a lot of controversial moments, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, obviously as far as what Sonic has already mentioned about this already, in at least in one of those parts in Banjo-Kazooie, apparently though, that I've already mentioned about this before, or he already mentioned about this I should say, is the fact that obviously what the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo can do is that this allows you to able to actually get yourselves your fast travels between, you know, land and sky at any time. So because of that though, that was actually a pretty smart feature for those of you able to actually just manage to able to getting bored of traversing through the exact same, like, well, usually just on foot scenarios. And because of that though, unfortunately though, it's been locked due to the forms of the actual amiibo function. So because of this though, they were expecting if they were able to actually like have that feature to begin with, or specifically in day 1 patch, but unfortunately though, it's gonna be locked by an amiibo. So, you know, it's very similar to, you know, the forms of how the fact that in Twilight Princess HD on the Wii U, that if you manage to able to actually get the Wolfling amiibo, and basically you would be able to actually get yourselves your chance to able to actually just go ahead and actually access to the Cave of Shadows. And not only that, there is no any other options to able to actually just well, trying to able to actually access the forms of Cave of Shadows, especially that the Wolfling amiibo is only required if you really want to able to, well, increase your, you know, ruby count, and, it's kind of a shame, it's been locked by the actual amiibo. Well, don't get me wrong, I don't mind the amiibos, but it's just that some unfortunate events for controversial sake that sometimes is being locked by an amiibo. And it's also another example of Mario Party 10 for the Wii U, because obviously that game also utilizes amiibo support, but in order to able to play Amiibo Party, you have to able to actually purchase one of those Super Mario lineup of amiibos. Sorry for a little bit of a tongue twist in the end, folks, but it knows what it is when it comes to likely speaking of such, so I get the feeling that this will be either 8 or 9. I'm guessing 3 or 9. Yep, it's definitely 3, because I can definitely tell that the actual the panels that I can definitely recognize with So there we go. We got ourselves the 12th piece, if I recall correctly. Yes, the 12th piece out of 50 pieces altogether. So yeah, we are getting there. So anyways, now let's move on to the next story, which is through the Thorny Maze. So yeah, we're gonna have to able to go through a lot of like rooms to go through while going through this whole maze. Kind of fell to it for the structure wise, but at least we pretty much exactly know what we're expecting to do. Ah, dang it, I just got knocked. And I just got knocked back again, so screw you. But no matter, at least we can able to actually you know, continue our progressioning here, so not much else to tell really. But, either way, something's worth mentioning is the fact that with the forms of the actual owl that you managed to able to went onto, basically it's the fact that, you obviously managed to able to actually just to take control of the owl. You know, you saw that ever since in the forms of the very first level in the forms of Chapter 3. However though, unlike the forms of how it does it on Wario Land 3, that, also managed to borrow the exact same features as in Wario Land 2 did, but we'll get to more about it specifically until September or beyond. So, but it really depends on it though, just because, well, for one thing, that I still need to get a lot of usage when it comes to forms of Windows 10 interface, and well, it's alright for the most part. In fact, I'm pretty much able to used to it now. But again, I said this before, that it's kind of hard to get used to at first, especially because I'm pretty much used to when Windows 7 comes into play. But apart from those side things though, it's actually not too bad, or even especially noticeable, not too noticeable either. So yeah, anyway, so let's just go ahead and continue things on here, and we have to be extra careful at this point, because obviously we're now with spikes, and also there's going to be plenty of times we have to do with, like, you know, leaps of faith and all that stuff, which most of the time that maybe seems the case. So let's have to be very careful and be cautious in here. Okay, I think we are... okay, that's fine. As long as it actually leads me straight into the actual coins themselves, but I wasn't paying attention to that either, so oh well, no big deal, but at least we can able to still find some even more... dang it! Oh, jeez, what's wrong with my jumps for this point? But, okay, so it's duck. There we go. I think we should be safe from here. And we can now able to actually roll down in case if we're about to go to the next pathway. So, I wonder what's in here. Oh, we got ourselves an owl section. I think that'll have to be by the forms of the ending portion of this level, which I might be wrong, but either way though, we'll find out as soon as we continue our, you know, exploration on this level right here. So, son of a biscuit. I can't believe I just... Oh, seriously? How the heck did I just somehow manage to do not avoid him? Oh well, no big deal, but at least we can able to just do this little roly-poly thing again. No, not the forms of that specific preschool children's show. Like, I think it's what you usually call it, the Thimbles or something, but, well, I just don't know why I'm saying things like that. But anyway, so let's just go ahead and, there we go, now we succeed. Oh, I realized there's a silver coin appeared, but I was usually too late, so, oh well. No big deal, but at least we found ourselves a treasure room, so we can able to once again go on normal mode, and because of that, we need to able to save up for some, you know, coins to able to actually just to save up, just in case if we're about to get onto the later what-if scenarios, then we can probably expect we can able to actually just, you know, collect even more coins along the way, so that may have been appreciated for certain things like this. And what's this? We got ourselves a golden apple. Which, it does remind me of the forms of one of those golden apple fruits from the likes of Pac-Man World 2. Oh, we have ourselves some secrets there. Okay, awesome. Awesome, sweet, secrets to be found. So, I guess that's top-notch. Alright, oh yeah, and also another thing as well, that's, well, it's been 10 years since when Nintendo E3 2011 came out. Like, specifically, with all these announcements, like ranging from, let's just say Sonic Generations on the 360, PS3, and especially noticeable with the 3DS version as well. That's, I can't even believe it's been 10 years since when Sonic Generations first announced. And also as well, some other games even as well from Nintendo that has been also ever since like 10 years ago since when these games first announced. Like, you know, Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, at least on the Wii version anyway, and the 3DS version only sees some screenshots. And, also, Mario Party 9 has been announced ever since 10 years ago, which I can't even believe. Looking back onto it, is actually a lot different than the final version of the game. Mainly due to the fact that I'm pretty much used to with the actual, the fonts they use in the final version of the game, based off from Super Mario 3D Land. And as a result, because usually it's kind of hard looking back into the forms of the E3 trailer of Mario Party 9 and compare it to the final version of the game, and it's just like, man, time really does fly, doesn't it? Even though despite the forms that the visuals might be a bit washed out in the E3 version, whilst in the final version of the game, it does look pretty nice though, especially how, you know, it does manage to able to take a lot of time to work with, even for visual identity and such, so yeah, it seems kind of surprising. Speaking of Super Mario 3D Land, basically that game has been announced for 10 years since the, well, since Junior Forms of 2011. So, well, back in the day, it normally calls it Super Mario, but it doesn't have a final name until, I would say in August or September. I'm pretty sure it's like September or August, although I may be wrong, but usually they get the final name by the forms of Super Mario 3D Land. And also they got Mario Kart, or later known Mario Kart 7, that has also been announced ever since 10 years ago. Jeez. I might still need to get back into that game at some point if I was trying to able to unlock, well, let's just say the last kart parts, because I'm pretty sure I've pretty much done everything, aside from kart parts. That's the only thing I was missing on, so yeah, that seems very standard stuff. And I get the feeling it is definitely, yeah, it's definitely going to be 1. The number 1 indeed. So, and also, Fortune Street, aka Boom Street, has been first announced from about 10 years ago as well, even though it originally usually calls it Fortune Street, but then the UK decided to change the name into Boom Street. So anyway, Story 4, Escape from Maze Woods. So, since we actually did explore the maze, or even the forest well enough, then we now need to get out of the forest. So, that might seems a little bit more of a convenience, that is. So, oh, and by the way, there's another one of those transformations that you might come across into, by the forms of, I would say, a blimp Wario. And basically, the only thing it does manage to trigger that particular transformation is that if you get stung by the forms of those bee-like enemies, as you can see on screen. And basically, you can't able to actually just attack them, but rather you able to, well, float in the air. And basically, if you really want to go back into its normal self, well, you're just gonna have to able to touch the ceiling, or some cases, trees, as you can see on screen. All those little leaves, I should say. But, either way though, it's kind of hard to explain, because I know it has been, I would say it's been about 3 days since actually coming back into this game, of course, so I digress. And, yeah, and also another game that's been out ever since like 10 years ago, well, specifically announcement I should say, is the forms of the obscure Nintendo Wii U, along with New Super Mario Bros. Me tech demo, which later on became New Super Mario Bros. U, during in 2012 that is, and also Luigi's Mansion 2, which later on in North America it calls it Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and yeah, I have no idea why, time really does fly, especially noticeable because, well, after looking back into the past, and then basically it's like, man, it's been so old for the actual, like, announcements and everything, and it's just, why did all this day come? But anyway, but we'll just see what happens during the course of, well, as I said before, we only got 5 days left until, you know, this year's E3, so, yeah, expecting to be hyped, and especially noticeable just to be curious to see what the new game announcements they'll bring us into, so, I don't know if they might able to actually bring new stuff onto Pokemon things, because, obviously, we've now actually got more infos during the past, ever since in May, that obviously with the final release dates between the two, like, you know, I don't feel like trying to mention about that again, just because that, you know, I already explained about this a lot, so... Anyway, so let's go and continue, and just keep on crouching, and it's gonna be a biggest pain, especially because, well, nothing to do with my skills or anything, it's mainly due to my emulator control keypad, which because of this though, or the keyboard I should say, it can be a bit fickle at one point, which I must admit though, it's kind of feels like, you know, a bit fickle indeed, but anyway. Alright, so we do definitely need to use that enemy to break out those enemy blocks, so that way we can able to, you know, grab some more coins from up there. So we can expect we can able to actually just to do that. Oh yeah, and also another thing as well is that, actually to be honest with you, there's not much else I can say. Well, apart from the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking, I definitely heard some rumors about the forms of, in regards to the forms of, well, My Little Pony, the second movie, well, usually based off from Generation 5, that, obviously I don't know when that's going to be released. I do definitely know it's going to be still going to be fall, but, again, we'll have to wait and see, because, it might be a bit too early at that point, but, dang it, I somehow managed to get rid of that bee enemy. But that's fine, because I can able to go back to the previous room and re-enter the exact same room again, so that way we can able to let those enemies respawn after death. So, at least they're able to do that. So, yeah, you get the totally get the suggestion for that point. And, also another thing that Sonic hasn't mentioned about this either is that Slim Kirby, our YouTube fan of ours, basically that he's now going to be doing a next Kirby Let's Play, which appears to be a traditional Kirby platformer ever since, well, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. And this time around, he's tackling through Kirby Triple Deluxe. And, yeah, I'm pretty excited able to actually see his Let's Play. Well, I've already watched plenty of parts for Kirby Triple Deluxe so far, for Slim Kirby, and I'm gonna say, I still enjoy it even to this day, and it makes me wonder about the fact that now I'm a huge Kirby fanatic every now and then, especially because obviously we already discussed this, haven't we? Like, for instance, we picked up more Kirby related items, like for instance, you know, well, we already mentioned about this before, that we actually got digital versions of well, let's just say both Kirby Power Paintbrush along with Kirby Mass Attack, and also I've got myself a physical version of Kirby Power Paintbrush, because why the heck not, and plus I can play on the go, so that will be top notch and awesome at the same time. And as far as playing is concerned, when it comes to likely doing some sort of like a test playthrough, if we consider we might be able to do that Let's Play at some point in the future, well, at least specifically after Star Allies, or anything else like that, but again, we'll see what happens during at some point in the future, so... But anyway though, and for I've played Kirby Power Paintbrush on the DS version, so far I'm actually getting some progression, like specifically I'm on World 4, which appears to be something related to green, so it might actually be the case, because obviously that it trying to replicate the actual, the letters representing the rainbow, so because of that though, yeah, there's not much else to tell, so, anyway, so let's go ahead and keep on moving, and hopefully we would be able to just try to toss the enemy to that block, which I'm somehow got a bit of struggle at first, mainly because again with my keyboard controls just managed able to almost screw me up every now and then. So forgive me of that little apology for that actual footage is getting a bit too long for my taste, especially because, well, again, it has been about a couple of days since I actually did manage to come back into this game. Well, The physical version doesn't count though, just because, well, at least if I was expecting to play as on the Game Boy player, but unfortunately no, that does not look like it, so I'm sorry guys. But anyway, at least we passed that, so let's see what rewards we can get in here. Just Wario coins along with those brick blocks, that way we can able to destroy them and able to get coins in the process. And if we toss that enemy over towards that section down there, then of course we get what else? Even more coins. So, and at that point, I think we actually got enough coins to able to actually just try and go ahead and actually access to, well, let's just say the treasure room if we can able to find it. So, I bet it might actually be at the end of the level actually. So yeah, speaking of such though, I think we're actually getting, you know, pretty dang close towards the end of the actual main level itself before we move on to the boss level. So yeah, that seems kind of, you know, cool and everything. So yeah, it seems top notch. And also another thing, I suppose that Sonic has already mentioned about this as well, that obviously we have played Mario Kart Tour during the past few days, and somehow we got very lucky with all that, you know, the actual pipe, black pipe and everything. Likely we actually got ourselves, well, ever since in the previous event called obviously the Trick Tour, I just realized that I somehow well, I wasn't paying attention because I somehow got distracted, but either way though, it knows what usually happens. But anywho, that's we actually got ourselves, you know, Builder Toadette along with Builder Toad at the exact same time. Well, at least one of them is for free that I somehow managed to got lucky with, and I managed to able to got Builder Toad, despite it was actually kind of random to able to obtain from, but regardless of everything else though, I managed to got very, very lucky indeed with that. So, anyways though, so if you're probably wondering why I just able to keep on exiting this out of the room and going back into the exact same room in the process, because, well, for whatever reason, I just seem to have some bit of struggles with, well, specifically with this room, because I get the feeling that the treasure chest is going to be all the way up, so we're going to have to able to just, well, you know, just keep trying and keep on practicing at the same time if we don't mess this up completely, because otherwise, yeah, we do need to use that enemy in order able to actually break those enemy blocks. So, yeah, I do apologize with the actual process of this recording session is a bit, well, meh, just because, well, obviously because of how the fact that, well, I just want to able to actually just to get this out of the way, that, once we're able to actually just, actually, I just have no idea, I just get confused. But, either way though, it's just the fact that I just have to keep on trying to able to just, you know, trying to toss the enemy just up there while trying to deal with the actual bee-like enemies to able to make me go up, and I think that pretty much does it. Wait. Oh, that will be a bad idea, because if I leave off screen, yeah, that enemy disappears, so yeah, that seems kind of a bad thing. So because of that though, although, gonna think about it, does that enemy show up? No, it doesn't, so yeah, that seems kind of a bad thing to notice, especially because, well, again, I do apologize for the actual recording session with this. This level right there will able to take me a lot of minutes, especially because of how this whole process of this goes. Well, at least until whenever we get into the forms of the next chapter, that it shouldn't be that hard or as long, but we'll see what happens during at some point on Wednesday and eventually on Friday. So hopefully we'll able to get the actual take on it. So, oh, seriously! Screw off. Screw you, you stupid enemy. That I was trying to able to actually just, well, trying to bust out those enemy blocks, but I somehow got screwed over. Oh, that's so stupid. And that was kind of a bad move, although that should be alright because, well, obviously that enemy is still alive. Okay, I think that pretty much does it. Come on, thank you. Hopefully we're able to get this time, and there we go. Alright, now we have to deal with, oh jeez, okay. Okay, Alright. There we go. Now we can... Oh, jeez, that was close. Almost gonna get myself... Okay. Alright, just gonna have to do that. And there we go. We've made it. We've made it to the actual, well, let's just say the treasure room, basically. But before we do that, I need to grab that 1 coin, which I already did. But hopefully we're able to actually just get that treasure, and then we'll leave the level as to be expected. So we'll once again select normal, and oh, we got to find this little one-eyed monster-liking enemy. But hopefully it's gonna be on, I would say the 6th spot. There we go. Easy as apple pie. Well, I have no idea why I say things like that. Weirdly enough, mainly it's because I keep on watching those video clips of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Well, specifically, the game called My Little Pony Friendship Celebration game. Apparently it's like a Mario Party kind of style of game. And, except the fact that, well, to be more specifically, it's like a pony version of Mario Party 10. That, basically is the fact that you have to acquire specific My Little Pony figurines while able to actually have themselves a bit of a scan, on the actual leg. And then basically they're able to come to life in the game. So yeah, it's kind of similar to Amiibo functionality when it comes to Mario Party 10 and Mario Party Star Rush. Well, at least Star Rush is, you know, Mario Shuffle mode. But aside from that, I think this will have to be 2. Yep, it's definitely 2. So yeah, we are getting pretty good so far when it comes to those bonus games in mind. So yeah, we are actually, well, getting there. Alright, so now let's move on to the last level in Chapter 3. And that is, defeat the Giant Bee. So... does it have anything specific names to it? Well, I'll point it out whenever we're able to fight against with this next boss in the game. So, yeah, don't be surprised about the forms of that specific simplicity name for it. But, anywho, oh yeah, something's worth mentioning for this point as well, that I managed to no longer have, you know, quite a few downloadable stuff from, well, let's just say I no longer have my digital download version of Kirby's Dream Land 1 on the 3DS, because I'm pretty sure that Sonic has already mentioned about this, well, ever since in the Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play, or, yeah, something like that. It's the fact that because obviously we got our physical cartridge version now, so because of that though, I'm, you know, pretty hyped about that too, so, but, you know, you get the idea. Although, kind of thinking about it, though, as far as what the next boss fight we're about to be fighting against, though, is going to be expecting to just call it, Giant Bee. So, yeah, that makes it pretty obvious for the sake of that name. But, it knows what it is. It knows what it is. So, yeah. So, yeah, let's just, double check in here. And just in case we can able to actually... Oh, stupid knockback. Oh, jeez. I have no idea why I just keep on getting myself my knockbacks these days. But, hopefully though, not too much negativity or anything else like that. Well, aside from the fact that we still need to be able to search for stuff, mainly with the treasure room and all that stuff. So, yeah, anyway, let's see what's up here. Just more coins, as always, and, oh, speaking of such though, it's the fact that recently I managed to able to go back into Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 recently, and I've managed to got to the point that I finally managed to complete it. Not only Shadow Story, but also Silver Storyline, and Sonic Storyline, in addition to able to actually purchase, well, the version I played is the PlayStation 3 version, because I already, almost 100% everything on the Xbox 360 version, aside from those achievements, but, I'll get back into that at some point in the future. But, for the PlayStation 3 version specifically, that I managed to recently complete 3 stories so far, so now on to the last story of the PlayStation 3 version of Sonic 06. And once I'm done with that, then I'm basically done with the game. Well, aside from the forms of, you know, able to try out the DLCs, like, you know, very hard missions, which, I think I might as well do the Sonic's very hard missions. And as far as Shadow's very hard missions, though, hell no. Because if you see my playthrough of Sonic 06, then more power to you, you can able to look it up, and just let me tell you right now, I despise Shadow's very hard missions, just because, well, it's too long, drawn out, and also to top it off, you're forced to able to play not only as Shadow, but Rouge and E123 Omega in all the stages in a game. And it's just like, it's just too much. It's literally too much, I'm telling you. It's too much. But, you know, you get the picture of what I was trying to tell you guys about that. But, anywho, though, let's just go ahead and, grab some even more coins while trying to deal with this enemy over here. So that way we can able to break those enemy blocks again. So, yeah, you get the idea about that. Actually, kind of think about it, whenever we get into the forms of another one of those segments that it does require jump and crouch and move right kind of issue I just managed able to come across into as always, I think I might able to decide able to cut out some footage and try to able to change configuration for those keyboard controls, because I just have a lot of problems with my right keyboard. Well, at least specifically the right button of the actual keyboard, which is kind of off-putting, because I was expecting if I was trying to able to do this in a nice way fashionable, but I just no idea why I'm saying things like that. But anyway, another thing is worth noting for is the fact that I did manage to able to re-download my Super Smash Flash 2 recently as well. Like, you know, the latest updated version of the game, the one that features Ganondorf and such. Because, obviously, that I managed to finally able to, well, play the game on the GameCube controller. Which, for the most part, I did that pretty much just fine. Except that one little thing bothering me. That is the fact that I can't able to actually just to attack any of our opponents, because for whatever reason my GameCube controller just becomes more accurately like a shield machine, and as a result I just couldn't play the game properly on the GameCube controller, which I definitely need to fix that, but not now though, just because obviously we are still playing Wario Land 2, so anyways, here's the next boss in the game, which appears to be, of course, the Giant Bee. This is where the boss fights gets a bit slightly trickier, while nowhere near as, like, intensively difficult, whilst usually, relatively speaking, it does get pretty tricky. That is something to do with those bee minions, and because of that, though, if you get stung just once, then you pretty much exit out the boss arena, and you're gonna have to able to begin that fight all over again if you find the correct path. So yeah, that's what happens right there if you mess up. So yeah, you basically get kicked out of the boss arena, and you have to able to find your way back into the actual boss arena again, and try to able to refight against the actual boss again. So yeah, that's something worth noting for, especially for every single boss fight plays out like this. So anyway, so let's go ahead and fight against with Giant Bee again, and hopefully we would be able to succeed. So hopefully that should be the case. So I'll just get rid of you. Yeah, he's gonna have to wait until when the Giant Bee actually does a bit of a stomp attack, and then basically that if you try to time your jumps well enough, then you would be able to actually succeed by this whole entire fight. So, and while we're at it though, is the fact that you're gonna have to shove over for those bees right there, because otherwise if you get stung, as I said, then you basically get kicked out of the arena. So, and this is where things gets a bit tricky, because now they actually start able to, you know, forcing you to get cornered. But just about 4 hits on the Giant Bee, and he's done for good. And that pretty much concludes Chapter 3. So, nice. Awesome stuff. And we actually got about 1,235 coins total, so we're still able to actually get enough, in case if we're about to be able to save some coins for, you know, ending game, bonus game, and of course the treasure room. So yeah, there's not much else to say about this. This is, I think this is 5 or 6. Yeah, it's definitely 5, because I can tell for that little thing right there. So, anyways, with that being said though, we got the endings of this point right here. So join me next time on Let's Play Wario Land 2. It's the fact that we are moving on to the forms of the next chapter, which appears to be Chapter 4. So, it should be interesting to say the least. So I'll see you guys until on Wednesday. Later, fellas.